Ready, Ryan?
Go ahead, Corey.
You all ready? We're probably going to have some more people jumping in, but good afternoon. I'm Lakeland Chamber President and CEO Corey Skates, and welcome to our exclusive CFO update. We're pleased to be joined today by our Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Patronis. Chief Financial Officer and State Fire Marshal Jimmy Patronis is a statewide elected official and member of the Florida Cabinet who oversees the Department of Financial Services. CFO Patronis works each day to fight insurance fraud, support Florida's firefighters, and ensure the state's finances are stable to support economic growth in the state. Just as a reminder, we'll be recording today's session, so it'll be available for those who are unable to attend. So with that, I will turn it over to CFO Patronis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me join y'all today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't. So, you know, we're in a COVID world now, and it's for the last 6 months it is. But I just looked at whose mask I've been wearing around today, a Danny Burgess for State Senate mask. So anyway, when y'all see Danny, you make sure you let him know that that I'm sitting there wearing his mask out in public. But anyway, he's going to be a great compliment to y'all in Tallahassee, and he's just such a fine person. But thank you for allowing me to join you. Let me kind of take it from the top. I'm basically been going through a lot of what every single one of you have been going through over the last 6 months, almost 200 days. COVID-19 has dramatically changed the workplace. It's affected small businesses dramatically. It's affected the way government does business. It's also affected the revenues of every small business in the state. And when the small businesses get affected, so do the revenues of the state government. The state has lost billions of dollars in revenue through the months of March, April, May, June, July. We'll get August's numbers start the preliminary come out tomorrow. But, you know, there has been a dramatic change. It wasn't that long ago for my son's birthday. You know, where did he want to go for his birthday? We went to Legoland. And as we're there at Legoland, you know, it was tough to see such a destination attraction, you know, have such a light attendance. So you take that same concern and you apply it to Orlando and I-4 corridor and so many of our tourist-driven areas, especially those that are dependent on convention business. It's been crippling. You take into that, you go and look at the MCO Orlando Airport. You know, the month of April, their flight enplanements were down 95%. So, you know, this stuff is not going to recover overnight. United, American, and Delta Airlines just yesterday announced they're waiving almost all change fees. So they're trying to do whatever they can to throw at the customer base, you know, solutions to make it less of a financial burden to board an airplane and start to get back to normalcy. Now, my kids started back to school last week. We had contemplated back and forth whether or not we should do virtual school or be in person, but we went with in person. And you know what? They're so happy. They're glad to see their friends. They're glad to get back to normal, but they're wearing masks. So, you know, we're doing what we need to do to stay safe. But Lord knows we've got to do everything possible in that safe environment to get our economy back up and running. Part of the concern that I think, you know, a lot of your members have, is something that I think about constantly, is business liability when it comes to businesses dealing in the new COVID world that we're in. You've got businesses that are abiding by CDC guidelines, Department of Health guidelines. So many of these best policies have been pushed out, whether it be by associations, franchises, you name it, as they go above and beyond to protect their employees and protect their customers from any type of community spread of COVID. So if we're abiding by all these guidelines, especially those that are being issued by our government, shouldn't small businesses have some peace of mind? They're not going to be susceptible to some type of frivolous lawsuit. So it's, you know, some type of a sue and settle type of environment. So, you know, we're working hard with our legislative leadership. We've got a white paper that we've developed as a draft, and we can't start on this conversation in April. We've got to start on this conversation now. And so, you know, I really appreciate being able to join you at the Lakeland Chamber to, you know, turn up the volume, make sure that, you know, just not your members realize that we're fighting for this issue, but we've got to leverage each other to make sure the Florida legislature is sensitive to these concerns and are very serious about coming forward with some type of resolution that gives not just small businesses, but hospitals, our non-for-profits, all these players that want to get back to life as normal, and especially if they're doing everything they can to make a safe experience in the workplace. My goodness, we should give them some peace of mind that, you know, the frivolous lawsuits aren't going to hamper them. But a little bit more of a note about the state's finances. Last budget year, the legislature passed a budget and they took $2 billion of those dollars and they just set them aside. Basically, they funded all the state's priorities, the governor's priorities, the legislative priorities. And they said, you know what, we're going to take $2 billion and we're not going to spend it. We're just going to leave it over here in our savings account. In addition to that $2 billion, we've got $1.4 billion, which is called our budget stabilization fund. These are dollars that are if you know everything falls apart, they're there to help keep the state cash flowing. Those dollars are very hard to access, but they are there. So thank goodness the legislature saw the wisdom to not spend everything last year, save some money, carry $2 billion forward, because that's what carried us through March, April, May, June, July. That $2 billion cash flowed the state's shortfall in sales taxes. So we have not touched that budget stabilization fund. What we're going to do is we're going to probably coast in to the end of this year in an ability to do business out. The state legislature, they've got what's called organizational session. That'll take place in November. Y'all are familiar with that. And this is just my opinion. The legislature will come in. They will, gavel in. They'll swear a bunch of new legislators in. They'll gavel out. They'll gavel back in with a special session to do exactly what they need to do and shift the numbers around of the state, redefine some of the pots of money that we have at the state in order to cash flow the state until we get to the regular session in the spring, and then start to deal with the finances of the state in this post-COVID world that we're going to be living in. The other thing that we're waiting on, as we have had some impasse, is in Washington, D.C., they passed the CARES Act, an enormous amount of money, almost $6 billion. With the $6 billion that was sent to us, a lot of strings were attached and restrictions were attached to those dollars. So we didn't get the flexibility that would be most helpful to the state navigating these challenges we've got with our finances, but we're able to make it, but we haven't touched that money. So, but when you've got Nancy Pelosi calling President Trump morbidly obese, the idea that they're going to come to any type of constructive consensus is still off in the distance. Now you throw into it the election cycle. There's so many personalities and issues that are flaring, whether it be the civil unrest or what have you. Congress goes back. They actually went back to Washington coming Tuesday. When they go back to Congress goes back, they will sit down and try to hammer out a solution. I've been advocating to our congressional leadership that, we don't need more money in Florida. It'd be nice, but I'm also very sensitive to the debt that we pass on to our children. And Florida is not a New York. It's not a California. It's not a Illinois. We don't have the train wreck finances that those states have gotten. They have made bad fiscal decisions in those states. And I've got a lot of heartburn of, seeing, dollars that come from the state of Florida to go bail out the bad decisions of other states. So, I have asked, maybe some flexibility with the dollars we already have would be sufficient enough. But, I still expect my government at the federal level to be fiscally responsible, because that's exactly what we do every day in Tallahassee. But as that's kind of what the dashboard looks like right now, state financially. And the last thing I'll leave you, and I want to try to open for some questions, is please go check out fltreasurehunt.gov. That is our state's unclaimed property website. I was home with the Boca Chamber yesterday, and I was telling Troy about it, and he had about 50, 60 people on the call. Before the call was over, somebody chimed in. They had $99 in our unclaimed property because they decided to go check it because I told them about it. So look, that particular website, it could be uncashed paychecks, utility deposits, stock dividends, you name it. If it is your money and it was not was not received and deposited by you, taking advantage of, it'll end up by the state, and then we hold on till we can get it back reunited to you. Go check out the website, your name, a loved one, a business that you owned, search it, and if you've got something, claim it and let us help you process your payment at no expense to you. But anyway, that's about it, but I'd love to answer any questions y'all may have.
All right, thank you, CFO. Do we have any questions from the group here today? I see Will, jump right in.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.
Sure.
I've read quite a bit about some of your efforts to try to get some of the really well-known companies to relocate from wherever they might be to Florida. Tesla's come up and some other big names. So I think we're all pretty aware of the arguments of why a company would want to relocate to Florida, but what sort of pushback are you getting from your pitches? What are things the state could do better to recruit these companies?
So I think, and look, thank you for noticing that, because it's a team effort. But I guess where a lot of this got started for me is I watched how California was restricting Elon Musk's ability to get his plant back open. And here's a reality that we've seen with our supply lines as their manufacturing has been disrupted. If you go onto any car lot in Florida right now, you'll notice there's no used cars on the lots. And what has happened, COVID hits, you still have people that are buying cars every month. And sometimes, it goes up and down based on the incentives and things that flow out there. But once, Ford and General Motors and all of these US-based manufacturers and international for that matter, shut down the production of their automobiles, then the consumers still needed cars. So they started going to the car lots and they bought all the used cars. So now you've got manufacturing lines starting back up. They're trying to get cars out. Used car market is totally gone, but people don't buy a car just because a new one is out once they bought something. So, I mean, you see this type of disruption. And so you see what Elon Musk is seeing is here, his frustration is he is trying to get, his company back to work, because if he can't start producing cars, and there is a demand, if he can't start producing cars, then ultimately his business will have, financial strains and duress of trying to recover. So this was an opportunity for me where, I wanted to, be the poster child for the best place to do business in America, and use those bad children out there, those difficult states that are, being unreasonable, and use it against them. So, I start looking at the assets that our state has, whether it's our low corporate income tax, our no personal income tax, just a beautiful state in the first place. And you know what? I just started trolling Elon Musk. And then as it got more and more fun, all you had to do is look at the blow up that happened in New York City as they ran Amazon off. So I mean, there are opportunities where big government and the dynamics that take place. And look, would I like to see incentives that states use to recruit businesses go away? Sure, I'd love to see them go away. But here's the reality of it: every state uses them. So you have to be able to play ball in order to get those companies to consider your site. And even though we've got all these great statutory provisions out there with low taxes and no taxes in certain cases or whatnot, you still have to have, a competitive offering of what you might be able to convince those companies to contemplate when they move back. But here's a reality that I learned. So I spent a couple years on the Public Service Commission. I was in Washington, D.C. It was probably about 4 years ago. And we had a time in the state legislature where economic development and tourism, especially the dollars used to promote economic development and the dollars used to promote tourism, were under attack. And as I was in Washington, D.C., I was there and I was meeting with a bunch of economic development companies, because a lot of the utilities will partner up with economic development headhunters. It's a win-win. They help drive businesses that consume more electricity. That's what they're in the business of doing. So, but as I was talking to one specific headhunter, he said, yeah, he says everybody that, has been contemplating Florida has taken it off their list. You've got so much uncertainty and challenge in your Florida legislature that businesses don't even want to waste the effort and resources of doing their due diligence in Florida. And that broke my heart. That really did. I never want to get into a place where the influencers of relocating companies, the influencers that tell you what's happening on the ground in all the 50 states, put Florida in a category where you don't want to do business there. So, every day that I can find a reason why to brag or promote or praise the state of Florida, a state that we all love. Y'all wouldn't be active with the chamber if you didn't love Florida. That's the same way I feel out of Tallahassee. We've got an incredible place to do business. I think we've got a lot of secrets. One thing I tell you, if we polled citizens of the state of Florida, I think there would be a number of them, probably I'd say 70, 80%, that would not guess that Polk County has almost 1 million people in it. I mean, we have got some incredible employment bases all over the state that can do amazing things. So that is a long answer to your question, but I think you feel my passion for why I feel this way.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anybody else with a question? Stacy, I see your hand up.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Well, thank you
Hey,
so much.
Stacy.
Hey there. How you doing, CFO Patronis?
Good.
Thank you so much. And forgive me, all my colleagues on this call, but I'm going to drill down a little bit into the insurance industry and have a question for you about our
Let's
business.
do it.
We wait bated breath every month and a half or so for the ruling for the 440 licenses for Florida. And I wonder if there is any sort of consideration due to workflex programs that we're trying to bring into our workplace and having technologies to allow 440s to work from home, which we were able to transition into during COVID. If there's any sort of thought of maybe making that rule permanent rather than every month saying, or every 6 weeks or so, yes, you can remain remote, or, so we're waiting till the 6th for the next ruling. So sorry,
Sure.
guys.
That's okay. And so it's something that has been, up for debate. Matter of fact, literally the meeting I was just with, if you go look at my Twitter feed, I was just sitting with Kyle Ulrich and BG Murphy from FAIA. And this is one of the things we were talking about. What is the legislature going to be willing to contemplate when it comes to remote working? To me, once the emergency set in and the governor passed the declaration order, and you have agents of all different ages, but you have customers of all different ages, and you have the need to be able to communicate and do business dealings, because whenever a time of crisis happens, the first thing people do, and it's just what I did, it's what my mom did, you go and you dig out and you look at your insurance policies and question, do I have enough peace of mind based on the emergencies that we're facing right now? And, agents, unfortunately, at that time of disaster, there's definitely a lot more expectations to be responsive, because there's an opportunity. You get to fulfill somebody's concerns. You get to be able to take away somebody's fears. You give them peace of mind. And at the same time, you want to be able to do your job in a safe manner also. So that's why we said, okay, working remotely, under the governor's order, we're going to follow. And so I told Kyle earlier today, he was wondering, are we going to continue renewing it every time? I said, Kyle, as long as the governor's order is in place, we're going to keep this in place. And once we get to an environment, whether it be a vaccine, whatever you have that might create the silver bullet for COVID, then we will, then evaluate the situation. The legislature is probably going to get an earful about this year, simply because there are people that appreciated having that flexibility. There are, I think, reasonable reasons why it was the way it was for as long as it was. So again, I think we'll have to sit down and evaluate it. And look, I just want to make sure that at the end of the day, the agents that are out there taking care of our customers, because, look, I was in the restaurant business for 30 years. There's bad restaurants out there. It is what it is. And, where you've got, maybe a little more effort on make sure that the customer is totally informed. Sometimes that in-office setting, creates a little bit different, ability to connect, a nexus of back of where you can get those answers. But again, I thought it was absolutely the right thing to do under the circumstances that we were in, and I don't regret it for a second. And I am open to dialogues of how we can empower our agents to be able to do more and, hopefully grow their business.
Thank you so much. And if you have
Sure.
any questions from my point of view, being an owner of an independent agency, please feel free to give me a call because I'd love to give you my.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, I see Wayman with his hand up.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, CFO Patronis. How are you today?
Hey, good to see you.
Good seeing you as well. So I'm going to make a plea today on behalf of the bankers in our community and the state of Florida and across the country, as well as our small business owners. I'm sure you are well aware of all the numbers that have been generated over the past 4 or 5 months with these PPP loans. And one of the things that's happening right now, we are at a really interesting time frame where we're going through the forgiveness process, and we're waiting for Congress to really determine whether they are going to have a kind of a minimum threshold of automatic forgiveness. And I'm sure you've seen some of those documents and some of the communication that's gone around that. Not sure where that's going right now, but anything that you all can do to help Congress understand the tremendous amount of work that this forgiveness process is going to be on small business owners and the banks. And if we could establish that $150,000 minimum forgiveness level across the country, there would be automatic forgiveness of somewhere around 3.5 to 3.7 million loans, just like that. They wouldn't have to go through the application process and providing all the documentation. And it would really help small businesses and the bankers tremendously. So anything Governor DeSantis can do, the legislature can do to help talk to their counterparts up in Washington would be tremendously helpful for both small businesses and the banking community.
Sure, totally get it. Florida was the second largest recipient of PPP loans in the United States.
Yep.
And, we pushed out $14 billion worth of unemployment benefits. And that's in addition to how many billions of dollars of PPP loans that the state sent out. So, trying to ensure that we could do everything possible to try to salvage and protect our state's economy. And there were some upsides to it. Credit card debt, during this time of COVID, didn't spike as people were anticipating it would. So, the PPP loans and the unemployment checks that were cut were definitely facilitating people's ability to live and not go into debt, which ultimately, should provide an outcome of our economy bouncing back quicker because of not that debt. But at the same time, I totally get your concern because you've got financial institutions that did everything by the letter of the law. And what was unique about the PPP loan program, for those that don't know, Congress opened it up to basically anybody who could write a note. So it historically was only certain institutions that could write these type of loan programs. But with it that broad, that was just a way for Congress to put that loan program on steroids to make sure as many businesses that needed it could access it quickly. But in saying that, that is an awful lot of overhead and the same amount of effort it takes to process a $10,000 PPP loan, that same amount of effort went into processing a $400,000 PPP loan. And all that being said, it's a lot to keep up with. At the same time, trying to put our businesses all back to work. So very sympathetic to what you're pointing out, and yeah, I'll be happy to chime in.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I think we got about 5 more minutes with the CFO. Does anybody else have a question? If not, I'll jump in with one.
All right, Corey, go ahead.
Just wanted to get your take on Amendment 2. That's going to be a big issue that we're going to be taking up, I'm sure, as a chamber coming up when we talked about competitive disadvantage. We would be the first state in the union to have a $15 minimum wage in our Constitution. And having worked in the legislature previously and worked with a couple legislators that were very opposed to using our Constitution as a mechanism to perpetuate bad legislation effectively. I know it may not be something that you can freely talk about, but I know it's something that the business community is going to have to take up, especially in light of everything that's happened with COVID. This may have been a bad issue previously, but it's going to be a really bad issue with all our businesses currently struggling and then having to put this extra layer on top of everything they're trying to do to survive. So I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm growing up in business. Look, I'm in the service industry. I had 30 years of working in a restaurant business with almost 200 employees. And, you know, if I were to make this new, I mean, I don't have a single employee that makes minimum wage. All my employees make above minimum wage. If you want people to work, you've got to pay more than minimum wage. You go out there and you throw a $15 an hour floor to this now. I mean, you're not going to be paying anybody $15. You're going to be paying them, you know, $17, $18, $19 for that same employee. And then ultimately what is not going to be, you know, realized by the employee now or the citizen now that's voting for it, they, in my opinion, they're voting themselves out of a job. You will see businesses that will have no choice but to implement more automation into their businesses. And, you know, I was telling my brothers the other day at the restaurant, you know, we've got some really sophisticated equipment that does amazing jobs when it comes to food preparation. But, you know, I still run a full scratch bakery. I've got almost 1,000 seats, but I run a full scratch bakery. I've got 3 full-time bakers in there that come in every day, make all the desserts from scratch, bread from scratch. But, you know, every single thing that we do from scratch, I could just as easily buy it off the back of a truck, backing up to the restaurant, still bake it in an oven, but I could probably eliminate 2 bodies. Those are going to be the type of decisions that businesses will have to start to contemplate, because it'll be simple math. They'll look at what the cost of labor will happen to their business if they have to increase by that threshold. They're going to figure out ways how to shrink their workforce. And God love them. Look, I think everybody loves going out to a restaurant and loves getting waited on, but you'll start to see probably a development of more fast casual restaurants where basically you'll walk up to the counter, you order food and you'll serve yourself. And it's kind of a shame that that's some of the changes that we'll see. And ultimately you'll have people that, you know, don't realize the consequences of the outcome, because it sounds good on the surface, but ultimately it will have a catastrophic effect to, you know, what business looks like in the oncoming years after its passage. You know, the Constitution, it's unfortunate that we've allowed it to be manipulated in the ways it has. And a lot of times in the $15 an hour minimum wage issue is one of those particular issues. It's not about $15 an hour. It's about driving out a different demographic, a different voter out to the polls that typically wouldn't have voted otherwise. And so if you're creating a motivation, and, you know, it happened with class size amendment, everybody wants smaller classes. Oh yeah, I only want, you know, 15 kids in my classroom. Well, the moms and dads that go out and vote for that don't think about the cost of construction, because now you're building more and more classrooms. But again, it's to drive to swing. Florida is a purple state, and these issues drive the pendulum to the left and to the right as motivated. And look, a lot of these are driven by, you know, people that want to turn out the voters for a Democratic candidate. And look, Republicans can be just as guilty of that. Republicans will put amendments on the ballot that are all about, you know, the military, or, you know, maybe some type of tax incentive where you're increasing ad valorem tax. There's things that both sides will play with the voters' emotions in order to change the outcome of a gubernatorial race or a presidential race. And it's such garbage that we're allowing our Constitution be manipulated in such a way that it's not for necessarily good policy. It's all about controlling an agenda at the state level, and as big of a deal Florida is at the federal level. So I don't know if that was candid enough for you, but that's how I feel.
That was perfectly candid and perfectly well put. That was exactly my mindset, so thank you.
Sure, sure.
I know you probably have to run, but are there any last minute questions? I see Hillary's popped on. She's
Oh
probably
yeah, hey
telling
y'all, if
you.
y'all make sure, I know y'all all know Hillary, but y'all need to use her like a Swiss Army knife. She can do anything and everything, whatever that you need assistance with, whether it be state, federal, local. Hillary's job is not to tell you that's not her job. It's her job to figure out how we can get you to yes. And we will navigate whatever hurdles you might have. But she's a brand new mama for the second time. I'm really proud of the work she does. She is an asset to our office, and we're really proud to have her on our team. So anyway, y'all, please use Hillary like she's your own employee.
We will do that. Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out today for this wonderful briefing from our CFO. We appreciate your time and thank you for all that you do for the state of Florida. And thank you, Hillary, for making this possible.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Hillary.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.